Thank you very much, first of all, that you are in Azerbaijan, our office. It's very honor and proud. We are delighted to interviewing you. Just now, I want to start our interview. First, my question about the electoral process in Azerbaijan. You know, parliamentary elections underway in our country. What's your opinion about that?
Well, I had the opportunity this morning to visit 4 separate polling places as part of a larger delegation of observers. I was impressed. I mean, even as an American, Americans like to believe that we have the most robust democracy on the planet. And even as an American, I thought that the process was very open, extremely organized. And I thought there were some aspects of your election process that we in America can also learn from, particularly the spraying of the hand to prevent from multiple voters. I thought that was brilliant. I thought the poll workers were extremely well trained, more than most of our poll workers in America, in fact. They knew exactly how the process worked. They went down the process step by step by step. Any questions that the actual voters had, they readily answered. They answered all of my questions and that of my colleagues. I thought that they were very transparent elections.
Southern Gas Corridor project and Trans-Adriatic Pipeline, Trans-Anatolian Pipeline projects that are underway, the large-scale projects carried out within the initiative of our country. And what's your opinion about the Azerbaijan plays already an important role in ensuring the energy security of Europe?
I think that amongst all the nations that are involved in the Southern Energy Corridor, the Trans-Anatolian Pipeline, all the other pipelines being built, and again, you're absolutely right, huge projects, huge infrastructure projects. I think that Azerbaijan, by virtue of SOCAR taking a lead and such a large share in these projects, coupled with the fact that it's Azerbaijani natural gas itself, I think that Azerbaijan's role is absolutely indispensable. In terms of peacekeeping forces in Afghanistan, Azerbaijani soldiers have served shoulder to shoulder with Americans in Bosnia, in Iraq. The only reason why there aren't any Azeri troops in Iraq now is because the United States pulled out of Iraq. And Afghanistan, Azerbaijan has had troops for years. And I think that's indicative of the relationship between the United States and Azerbaijan. The fact that our soldiers fight together and are on peacekeeping missions together show a camaraderie and a closeness between the two nations.
And Azerbaijan is a place where Jewish people living more than centuries in peace, in stability, in calm, and more than 30,000 people living in Azerbaijan now in peace and calm. And have you been previously in their settlement?
Well, speaking of tolerance in Azerbaijan, I think Azerbaijan is just in general, not just tolerant to Jews, but I think Azerbaijan is an extremely tolerant society in general, to all ethnicities, religions. There are Christians, Jews, and it's been like that for centuries. Strictly in terms of Jews, the Jews of Guba have lived there. They can trace their lineage back 2,500 years to the Babylonian exile. That's a very, very long time. And they're the first to tell you that they've lived there for 2,500 years with no traces of anti-Semitism, no strife with their Muslim neighbors. And it's also very interesting to talk to the Ashkenazi Jews, the more European Jews that live in Baku.
As an international expert, just how you see the settlement of the Nagorno-Karabakh Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict?
That's a very good question. I think key and the first step is to demilitarize Nagorno-Karabakh. I think that's the biggest threat, that Armenian troops are actually in Nagorno-Karabakh, and they're firing across the border onto Azerbaijani troops, and these Azerbaijani troops have no choice but to respond in kind. If Armenia would pull back their troops from Nagorno-Karabakh, I think that it would do a lot for the prospects of peace. In terms of settling Nagorno-Karabakh, clearly, every international organization from the UN to the Council of Europe to OSCE recognize Nagorno-Karabakh as part and parcel of the Republic of Azerbaijan. It's not an independent nation recognized by anybody. It's not part of Armenian territory. It is Azerbaijan. And at some point, it's going to need to be given back. Something that I think that is a problem is that Nagorno-Karabakh is more seen as a geopolitical issue, and the human aspect of the issue is lost. There are 1 million people who were ethnically cleansed from Nagorno-Karabakh that were either murdered or had to forcibly removed from Nagorno-Karabakh and the 7 regions around it, and they live as internally displaced people inside Azerbaijan. The people want to go home, and I don't blame them. Well, you know, that shows some dire rhetoric in my calculus. Armenia has maintained for many years that Nagorno-Karabakh is an independent republic. It's not recognized by anybody as an independent republic, not even Armenia, incidentally, but Armenia has always maintained that Nagorno-Karabakh should have its independence. It was a quantum shift in Armenian policy for him to say that, and I think it was very telltale, because I think it showed that Mr. Sarkisian really believes that Nagorno-Karabakh is Armenian land. Well, you know, it is a double standard. When you're talking territorial integrity of Ukraine, you can't leave out the territorial integrity of Azerbaijan. In America, we have a saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Azerbaijan will celebrate already next year 25th anniversary of independence. And how you see, as an international expert, our development?
I see the development of Azerbaijan as stellar. Just in the years that I've been coming here, about 11 years. I think the first time I was here was 2005, 2006. The development of the country has been amazing. On the business side of it, you have deep ties to both American and European countries, but just in terms of the development of society, the government has done quite a superlative job building the civil structures necessary for a stable nation, an emerging democracy. Whenever people find out that I regularly travel to Azerbaijan, you know, first they ask me, where is Azerbaijan? And I explain where it is, and my message to them is, if they're interested in visiting a very modern, cosmopolitan, fun city, Baku is their place. If they're interested in a countryside that is absolutely magnificent, the countryside of Azerbaijan, Ganja Tavuz, is beautiful. The Caucasus Mountains are gorgeous. There's a lot to do in this country for a tourist. Not just someone that comes here on business. I always recommend Azerbaijan. Working with Azeri diplomats and politicians has been wonderful. I think that the Azerbaijani people are amongst the most welcoming, nicest people that I've ever met. I'm lucky enough to have some relationship in Azerbaijan where Azeris treat me like family, and that is something that I value in my own life a great deal.
Thank you very much. You found the time to came to our office for the interview. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that.